I know that it was very unpleasant the first time around, and you're still getting over the shock of, well, being discovered by someone like me. But I do need to advise that we re-clean and redress your wound. Would that be alright with you? Why do I think we should do this? That's a very good question. Due to your high exposure to certain types of bacteria and viruses, even though I did clean your wound as much as I was able to, there is a very high likelihood that something still got in your wound before I was able to clean it. Re-cleaning it and redressing it will allow me to keep track of any infection that develops. Not to mention, it would also give me an opportunity to further demonstrate my trustworthiness to you. Of course, if you're uncomfortable with this, we can still track any infection's progress simply by observing the rest of your symptoms that would occur. Based on my medical experience, which I will say is quite limited, I would strongly recommend that we re-clean and redress the wound as often as possible. Is that all right with you? All right then. Think you can hold real still for me? Yes, once again, I will be as gentle as I possibly can be. Just hold out your arm and keep it nice and still. And once again, please do tell me if I do anything that hurts you. After all, it could be a sign of further injury, or it could be a sign that I'm not being as gentle as I think I am. Although I will try to be as gentle as possible, that's always a risk, whether or not we were different sizes. Alright, ready? There we go. The bandages are a bit difficult to remove since, well, they're rather small and difficult to grab onto. However, they seem to be coming off very easily. That's a good sign. No serious bleeding, no pus, no... Oh my god. Oh my... No. Don't panic. It's just... your wound, it's... I need to grab my magnifying glass before I say anything else. I'm sorry. I know that this is probably, or at least possibly, very normal for you, but I've never, ever seen anything like this. Oh my god. Looking at it like this, your wound, it is almost completely healed. The skin is still pink where the cut was, but everything else seems to be perfectly fine. Is this typical for you? It is. And is it just typical for you, or everyone who's like you? What's with that look? No, it isn't nothing. Believe me, I've gotten pretty good at reading people in my years here. I know when something isn't nothing. You'd rather not talk about it. I completely understand that sometimes some things are just better left unsaid. However, if you're worried that you'll be judged or that I won't take you seriously, you can talk to me. I really do want to fix things between us. I know I just met you, and already I hurt you, and I scared the shit out of you, so if you need to talk, really, I want to give you that chance. Plus, seeing as I'm locked in this room, There really isn't much else for me to do if you're worried that you're going to be interrupting something. A lot of people around here actually have that concern. They're worried that their feelings really aren't something that we should waste time on. Granted, it's certainly not a waste of time, but they see it that way. They think that their emotions are just a waste when we could be doing something else to benefit humanity. So if that's a concern of yours, there's plenty of time to hear what you have to say, I promise you. Of course, if you really, really don't want to talk about it, I won't push you. I just want you to do whatever is best for you, okay? You think talking might help? All right then. Whenever you're ready. Take your time, of course. No, as I said, I've never seen anyone like you. And as far as I know, no one else has either. You what? Aside from your parents, you've never met anyone else who was like you? How is that even possible? I really don't mean to be rude, but I would assume that based on your size and the size of the rest of the world, it might be easier for you to stick together in large groups. How have you avoided doing that? Oh my. So, because of the significant human presence within the walls, it's very difficult for any of you to move in groups without being seen. I see. And do you know if there's any way for you to survive beyond the walls? Did your parents ever talk about that? People have tried that before. What was the issue? I see. Because there are no humans out there, and because the Titans trample everything in their path, it's very difficult to forage or scavenge for food. I should have suspected as much. Although you're quick, your little legs can only take you so far so fast. If a Titan even began to come your way, there would be very little probability that you would be able to get out of the way in time. And since there aren't very many creatures that are small enough for you to hunt, you couldn't just spend your days in a forest or anything like that. And as for foraging, certain types of plants do yield fruits or vegetables, but that's only if they're able to grow, with the Titans walking all over them, crushing them, and even if they did grow, most of them would likely be too tall for you to easily climb. I can understand that now. You have no choice but to live among humans, but in doing so, you're only further isolating yourselves from each other. I understand that better than you might think. Really. In fact, I sometimes wonder if we're doing the same thing. In order to protect ourselves from the Titans, we live inside giant walls that were erected years ago. And though some of us are able to leave for short periods of time, we can never get very far. The Titans either kill too many of us, or we come back before they can. So sometimes I wonder if there could be other humans far beyond the walls, but we just can't reach them. And they can't reach us. I absolutely hate feeling like we're so alone. I can't even imagine how it feels for you. You truly have no one else around you aside from humans whom you can't even talk to. I cannot imagine how lonely that must be. And I am so sorry that it's the only way for you to survive. No one should have to live like that. No one. Well, actually, there are probably several people who should have to live like that, but certainly not you. You don't seem to be any kind of horrible person. In fact, you seem rather nice. How so? You have given me so many chances to earn your forgiveness and your trust. I hurt you and I scared you half to death. Yet still, you're willing to put your life in my hands. You're willing to let me try to make things right. That is not a skill that most people possess. You could say the same about me. How so? You don't think most people would treat you this kindly? Well, certainly not most people outside of this building, I can assure you of that. However, most of the people here, unless you tried to hurt them in some way, I think that most of them would actually get along quite well with you. And I think they would be rather happy to learn that someone like you existed. Why is that? Well, I don't mean to sound like a scary serial killer scientist, but since you said you would consider allowing me to run a few tests on you, I've been kicking around this somewhat ridiculous idea in the back of my mind that if someone like you can exist, maybe there's a way that we can make Titans more like you, in terms of size at least. If we were able to somehow learn enough from your DNA to shrink Titans down to your size, we would be able to do anything. We could go beyond the walls. We could explore. We could finally, after all these years, regain the territory we lost within Walmaria and Shiganshina. That would mean that fewer people would go hungry. Fewer people would have to sacrifice their lives. Fewer people would inhabit such small areas. Which means that even creatures like you would benefit. You wouldn't have to worry about being spotted as easily, yet you could still live among humans. You could meet others like you. Assuming, of course, that such an idea is even possible, but we won't know unless we somehow try. I know it's a lot to ask. And I wouldn't ask it if I didn't have the best intentions. If you would be willing, I would love the honor of trying to reach that goal with you. And I promise you, I will do everything I can to make the tests as easy and painless as possible, but I can't do it unless you agree. What do you say?